And we can now talk to France 24's Leila Jacinto, who joins us live from Kabul. Leila, you're covering this election in Afghanistan for us. Can I ask you first of all about the reports we're hearing about rocket attacks falling in Kabul? What more can you tell us about that?
Well, there were two rocket attacks on the Afghan capital this morning. One was right by the heavily fortified presidential palace, the Afghan presidential palace. The other was on the eastern outskirts of the city. Nobody was injured. This, bear in mind, is sort of public relations Taliban style. It's their way of showing just days before the election that they are present, that they can make their presence felt. And this, of course, comes just days after the NATO headquarters was attacked in Kabul. The Taliban has, of course, boycotted the elections. So this is a way of making their presence felt.
OK, so a painful and crude security reminder of all the perils at stake during this ballot. Indeed, Leila, tell us the mood in Kabul where you're at the moment. Are people excited about the enormity of this presidential election that's just 2 days away?
Oh, they're certainly excited. I mean, security is definitely a concern here, but there is a mood of excitement. There are political posters all over the city. Yesterday, on the last day of campaigning, there was a huge campaign rally for Abdullah, who is the rival, who's a candidate for the presidential election. He's Karzai's nearest rival. So Afghans are excited, but they are overwhelmingly disgusted with President Karzai. There is the sentiment of opposition against him. We don't know if this will be transferred and this will translate into votes for Karzai's rivals, but there is a sense that they've had enough of the Karzai administration here in the capital.
OK, so that's the top two. What about the other candidates? Because I think there is something like 40 people competing in this presidential ballot. Where's the mood? Who else is making waves apart from Karzai and Abdullah?
Where there's 40 candidates, a lot of them are unknowns. People here refer to them cynically as gomnams. They are the unknowns. But in terms of the main candidates, the main rivals to Karzai, there's Abdullah, of course, his nearest rival. And there are two other heavyweights. There's Ramzan Bashar Dost. This is an interesting candidate. He's basically run a campaign on the anti-corruption ticket, and he's trying to do political business in Afghanistan the different way. His campaign is really in opposition to how Karzai has run his campaign, which is a very Afghan way of doing business, of making deals with political bosses and some very unsavory former warlords. And Bashar Dost is increasingly popular. He has a very minuscule campaign budget, but he has managed to tap into the overwhelming sense of disgust with the Karzai administration and especially with corruption. Another rival who is called the professor, the academic, is Ashraf Ghani. He is an extremely qualified candidate. He was a former finance minister of Afghanistan, a former World Bank official, and he has a proper platform to run the Afghan election. He talks about how he's going to get Afghanistan out of the state it is currently in. Ashraf Ghani has polled fourth in opinion polls. It's of course very difficult to say how this will translate into votes because, as you know, the security situation is so difficult in Afghanistan that public polls cannot really be relied on.